federal government is planning to shut down its EV charging infrastructure. Apple is planning to combine its modem with future processors as a single package. And Intuitive Machines is expected to launch its second lunar lander this week. It's Monday, February 24th, and this is Engadget News. The General Services Administration plans on shutting down federal EV charging infrastructure in the coming weeks and offloading EVs purchased by the previous administration. Since the GSA oversees government buildings, shutting down chargers will impact personal electric vehicles owned by government employees and government-owned EVs. There were a steadily increasing number of federally owned EVs after President Biden ordered the government agencies to electrify their fleets in 2021. Part of the Inflation Reduction Act signed last year also included funding to build EV chargers for the growing number of vehicles used by the government. The shutdown will take place over the coming weeks and will coincide with the removal of GSA EVs purchased by the Biden administration, either by selling them or placing them in storage. Shutting down federal charging infrastructure fits with both the Trump administration's stance on EVs and the transportation goals of Project 2025, the plan written by the Heritage Foundation that's been guiding recent policy decisions. Since taking office, Trump has reversed Biden's order to electrify government vehicles and canceled a project to install high-speed EV chargers along highways. It would not be surprising if he signed a bill eliminating the federal EV tax credit entirely if presented with a chance. While not a magic bullet for global warming, EV adoption has been pushed because of its potential to reduce carbon emissions. Moving from manufacturing gas vehicles to EVs has not been cheap for car companies, though. Imposing tariffs and removing the incentives to buy EVs is one reason automakers are reportedly trying to lobby the Trump administration to reconsider its current stance. Apple introduced its first in-house cellular modem, the C1, last week with the announcement of the not-so-budget iPhone 16e. And while it did not get into too much detail about it, the company reportedly has some big plans for future iterations. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Apple intends to eventually meld the modem component into the main processor. Integrating the modem into the main processor could have energy and cost benefits, but that design is still a ways off. We'll likely see the C2 and C3 without it first, which the company is already testing, according to Gurman, and the integrated design will not follow until 2028 at the earliest. During its unveiling, Apple called the new C1 modem its most power-efficient modem ever in an iPhone. The $600 iPhone 16e also has an A18 chip, but with 4 GPU cores, and supports Apple Intelligence, even if that's not what people actually wanted out of it. Intuitive Machines, the company that pulled off the first-ever commercial moon landing this time last year with its Odysseus spacecraft, is gearing up for another shot at touching the lunar surface. Its second flight under NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program is scheduled to take off no earlier than this Wednesday, launched by a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The company is once again sending one of its Nova C landers, this one nicknamed Athena. It's expected to take about a week for Athena to travel to the moon before it makes a landing attempt around March 6th. Athena is carrying NASA instruments including a drill and mass spectrometer, which will be used to attempt one of the first on-site demonstrations of resource use on the moon. These tools will measure volatiles in the soil at the landing site in the lunar South Pole. The mission also offers Intuitive Machines another chance at landing its spacecraft with all 6 feet on the ground. Odysseus, though successful in touching down on the surface, toppled over and ended up lying on its side. Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and more tech news at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from Ian Carlos Campbell and Cheyenne McDonald, and was voiced and produced from the sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more tech news from Engadget.